What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Join alongside Emilio in Tennessee. Here to talk some Green Bay Packers this evening as we're closing in on game day. Obviously coming up on Sunday afternoon. Well, actually right around noon Central Time as the Packers are set to face the Jacksonville Jaguars. First things first, Emilio, let's give a shout out to the good folks over at Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. Wisconsin-based since '92, specializing in Packers tickets. They're Wisconsin's largest ticket source with offices next to Lambeau and in Milwaukee. Just click on the link in the video description that'll send you over to their website, theticketking.com, where you can register for free as a customer and go ahead and start shopping for your Packers tickets. Again, that's Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. So, Emilio, how was your day, man? How we doing? We good to go, closing in on game day here?
Oh, yeah. Excited. Nice, beautiful day out with 70-something, some breeze. I was sweating a little bit, yanked a tree out, basic stuff. Just trying to get things winterized. It seems like it's happening early this year for sure.
Yeah, not that kind of tree, you wacky backer heads. We're just talking about normal landscape and stuff.
Right.
Eric Sutherland's in the chat. He perked up just now, I guarantee it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. We got Thursday night football on tonight. We'll kind of give you guys updates as we go through the show here as the Minnesota Vikings are taking on the LA Rams. Sounds like Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are playing, I believe. So that's going to be really, really interesting there for sure. Let's see. We got Jeff in the chat says, Jeff Silkey says, half was so awesome on the podium today, as usual. Yes, sir. And I didn't grab any of the sound bites, but I'm open to talk about it. If you guys want to put in the chat, like your biggest takeaway from that, things you're excited about with half, we'll hit on it for sure. I know you listened to it, Emilio. You were kind of doing some drops there earlier as we first logged on here.
Yeah.
What was your general takeaway from half at the podium today? Anything stick out to you?
Well, I love that he just came flat out and said, me and Sal basically talked, every single week. It's not like it's a weird thing seeing him in the hallway. I'm sure Halfley knew before after Matt got off the phone with him, he probably called Half and was like, hey man, I'm coming over. It's exactly one of his best friends in coaching. And they ask, he's like, if you have a good idea on a blitz, why would I not take that and try to use it? If it's going to be possible for our players in a situation or that specific situation, let's go. I mean, he's here to win. WIN. That's all he cares about. And I absolutely love that because the players buy it. You know what I mean? It's not like he's not just messing around for fun. And you see when he's talking, he's like, all right, well, I'm up in the booth calling my plays while the defense is on the field, calling my plays. All right, we got him off the field.'s like, I don't even get to watch Matt cook. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't even get to watch the offense do. He's sitting there looking at an iPad for the next 5 minutes while we're wondering what Jay Love's going to do and who's going to catch the next ball. And he's over there scouting out what play I'm going to call up, this, and that. And then by the time he looks up, he's back on defense. So it's not like it ever stops for him. And I just love that determination that he has.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, man. And again, he's definitely not threatened by anyone. As Ron Sample says here, half ain't threatened by anyone. He's been a head coach, and he's approaching this from a head coach's perspective, right? And I know he's a head coach in college, and it's very different from the NFL. I got you. But when you see things from that global perspective and then you step back into a coordinator role, I can only imagine. It's like, Emilio, you're a business owner. I'm a business owner. Both run landscaping businesses. You imagine going from running a landscaping business. Mine's been open now for going on 14 years. And then all of a sudden me stepping back and being an employee for a landscaping company. Oh my God. Like it's going to be a totally different perspective.
You're flipping tables, definitely.
Yeah. You talk about employee of the year because you know exactly where the hiccups are, what that dude's going through. And anytime you have an employee, or in this case, I guess an employee, technically a part of your coaching staff, who can kind of look at it, he can have Matt LaFleur's back from a sense of, all right, man, I've been there, done that. I know what he's going through there. Let me try to steer it in this direction, or let me try to take a little off his plate there. And now you add Robert Saleh to the mix, who's going to be able to do that for not only LaFleur on the offensive side of the ball, with giving him, some kind of perspective from a defensive coach's stance, but also chiming in occasionally with half and being able to grab stuff. So Matt Schneidman tweeted this out. Jeff Halfley says Robert Saleh is one of his best friends in coaching and would welcome suggestions from him. Has stayed in contact with him, worked as Saleh's DB coach in 2018 with the Niners. If you guys remember when Coach Hafley was hired, the first thing we did on this show was we went immediately to the tape from the Jets. And we always talked about, yeah, you can look at his tape at Boston College, but he also referred to in a sit-down interview that we played back in, gosh, when we very first, signed Hafley, when we hired him. He sat down in an interview and said it's way different coaching college ball than it is coaching in the pros.
And he's got to talk to people that are in the league.
Absolutely. And that's what he said. As I talked to my friends in the NFL, and every time that we talked about that, I made it a point to say he's talking about Robert Saleh. He's probably talking about Pete Carroll as well as kind of a mentor type, I would imagine. He's talking about all these people that he's crossed paths with over the years, and that's what's going to play a role in how he builds his defense. And I just love how they came out. There was a lot of noise around the pass rush, and they're not being aggressive enough. And what happened to this pass rush? This is on scheme, blah, blah, blah. And he didn't panic. It was just, we know what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to win football games. I could care less about the sack numbers. I could care less about the pressures. It's what do we need on this specific play for this specific drive, for this specific situation in this specific game that we're locked into right now, because every game plays out different. I was listening to Ryan's pod earlier today, and he was talking about how we mention the middle eight all the time, right? We always talk about the middle eight. And he was like, I really don't understand exactly what that means. I know what the middle eight is, but I don't know the importance of it, this and that. That did come from Belichick. So I'll explain, he was saying I need to check and see where he got it from, talking about me. That's Bill Belichick 101. They look at the game. They prep all week long. And their goal is to make the other team play left-handed. And they being Belichick's coaching staff, which this runs rampant through the entire league. This is just coaching 101 when it comes to the NFL. You want that team to play left-handed. So you find out, who are they distributing the ball to on crucial third downs, right? What are they doing to move the sticks? What are they doing when they're in the red zone? All these things, you take it into this big pot. And he looks at the game as the first quarter, your goal in the first quarter, and this is Belichick talking, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here. The first quarter, the goal is, all right, you've got your openers based off of your 4-game saturation in which you've watched scouting that team. All right. If your openers are working, then you keep digging into that game plan. If they are not doing what you expect them to do, the first quarter is all about gathering information. The second quarter is making an adjustment. And then after the second quarter, or toward the end of the second quarter, it's controlling the middle eight. What you do when you control the middle eight, if you win that outright score in the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half, you're controlling momentum. There are some people, stat nerds, that don't believe momentum's a real thing. Just like they don't think the locker room chemistry is a real thing. Oh, the chemistry is good if you're winning. It's bad if you're losing. That's true, but these are real human beings. And if you just go in there and try to put talent in a locker room and go, okay, let's make this happen, it doesn't always operate like that, right? So it's team building 101. It's another thing I got from Belichick. You'll see me tweet out all the time when something happens on the team where you can see this team is like really lifting each other up and bonding. I always say we're building a team. We're not collecting talent. That's Bill Belichick 101. So with the middle eight, it's all about controlling that momentum, grabbing the momentum, keeping the momentum into the second half. So first quarter, you're gathering information. Second quarter, you're making an adjustment. You're working through the middle eight to control the momentum. And then he always says the fourth quarter is a standalone game. You've got all this information compiled from 3 quarters. To hell with what you thought you needed to do in the first quarter, to hell with what you were going to do in the second quarter, and even the third. This is a standalone game. Here's what they're doing. Here's the adjustment we need to make to win the freaking ball game. I don't care if it involves sacks. I don't care if it involves throwing across the middle, which was a big argument for the longest time. Like, it comes down to how do we win this specific game? That's the most important aspect. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's where the middle eight came from. So
it definitely does. It definitely does. And Hafley talks about, his adjustments. It's not a second half adjustment kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's not that he's adjusting it just at halftime when he runs down. What do you say? He takes a golf cart to the elevator, goes down the elevator, has to sprint into the room. Then after he sprints into the room, he talks to his coaches for a minute, talks to the players for 2 minutes, maybe writes something on the board, and they're out of there. So it's like, it happens so fast. He's like, those adjustments are things that I'm doing up in the box, minute by minute. That's why he's looking at the iPad after. That's why he doesn't get to see what Matt does and the offense is doing until the day after. So I think that it's huge that he does that, and he says that's why it's nice that he has that extra time up in the booth to take those notes and be able to churn all that out.
And that's like this big misconception when it comes to the game of football is like we think all these guys are just like constantly communicating, and they're from a fan's perspective, you kind of see, okay, that might be the case, but let me give it to you from a player's perspective. I'm good friends with a guy. I won't say his full name, but his name's Vince. Okay, I call him Vinny. He played for Belichick. All right, so he played for Belichick, then he went on to play with the Kansas City Chiefs. He actually played in the Canadian League a little bit. Great dude, one of the most stand-up guys you ever meet. And I love asking people this. I asked Mike Wall this. That's where the infamous answer of how you arrive at confrontation determines how you handle confrontation. I love asking former players, hey, what is something that fans don't understand about the game? Give me one nugget that's like, man, they just don't get this is how. And his thing, Vince said, was I think they think that we're always together. We're always like this. Every meeting we have, the whole team's together. Every time we're practicing, the whole team's together. He said it's not the case at all. We break off and go with our position coaches, and we go with our position groups, and we go and sit down and study film with them, and we're working in our own little section while these other aspects of the game, these other groups are in their own thing. He said and then you come together collectively. That game plan is put together by the head honchos,
right.
And then that information is spread out through the position coaches. Here's what I want you guys to accomplish. There's no time for everybody to sit around, pat each other on the ass and sing kumbaya. It's get to work, study this, learn it, understand exactly what it means, and now get yourself in peak prime condition to go out there and execute what we need to do. And here's the thing. The game plan could be crap. That's a wash that week. The players might not be prepared that week. That's a wash that week, right? Like all it takes is one or two minute details going haywire, and you're losing by 30 points in the NFL, no matter how good or bad the opponent is.
Right.
It's really that's what I love about the game is the difference between the worst team in the league and the best team in the league is so minute, and it's what makes every Sunday. It's why I always say, Amelia, they send a kicker out there to kick a game winner. I'm like, I couldn't walk out there without falling down. I'd be so nervous. You know what I mean? But you're prepped, you're battle tested, you're ready to go. I asked my brother that because he was in the first Gulf War. I'm like, man, when you're over there, because he had, their camp got hit with Scud missiles a lot and stuff when he was over there, and they were out in the desert in Saudi Arabia. And he said, when you're with your guys and we're all trained, we went through all that training and everything, and we're sitting out there, we're a collective unit. It ain't even a big deal. Missiles whistling overhead, no big deal. You're trained for it, man. You're lockstep with the guy next to you. That dude ain't going to let you down.
Right.
It's just out of sight, out of mind. It's read and react now. I think there's a lot of parallels to be drawn with kind of the art of war in football. Obviously, it's been spoken about time and time again over the years. It ain't this much serious, obviously, as
Right.
Wartime situations, but it is probably the closest thing to how a sport being militaristic, I guess you could say. And to me, there's something romantic about that a group of people, both men and women, can get together, put all their differences aside. Don't matter where you grew up, don't matter where you came from, don't matter if you had a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. None of that matters. All that matters now are the people that's around you and how you're going to protect each other and accomplish the
Right.
goal. And that's football, man.
Yeah, whoever's wearing that helmet and that jersey with you right now, you're going against the other team. You got 60 minutes to do it, about 3 hours of time, and let's just make it happen. You get 1 week at a time to go into that battle, and you got to handle your business. And that's what I love about what Matt preaches, what Half preaches, and it really just blends so well together that the message is across. I mean, you see it in the locker room, the post-game locker room. I mean, you got inside jokes, you got people screaming. It's not a bored locker room.
Right.
And they got that excited for two specialists and a coach to get the game ball. I mean, that's energy right there.
Absolutely. 2-0 for this in the chat said, I keep calling Darnold Sam Bradford, bro. I have done it 500 times since the Vikings signed him. I'm doing the same thing. And every time it comes out of my mouth, I go, I know that ain't right. Who is Sam Bradford? That's obviously the old Rams quarterback.
Throwback.
Yeah. Ron Sample says, also get a kick out of him talking about halftime not being what fans think it is. There you go. That's what you were talking about. Fred McFarley says, no one hesitated for a minute when Aubrey Pleasant took on the same role under similar circumstances in 2022. This is a good thing. There you go.
That's in regards to Salah coming over and helping the offense.
Right. John in the chat says, I like what Hafley said about rushers are sometimes used to make sure running backs or tight ends don't go out on a route. Didn't think about that before. And that's what we've been trying to show on the tape. And listen, we get roasted for it. That's why some people refer to us as the tape guys, and you'll hear us joke about it. We refer to them as the spreadsheet guys because they just don't want to accept the fact that it's not just he's rushing the quarterback. That's what he's doing. There's so many different layers to it, and it all has to marry up with both the mid coverage and the deep coverage. It's got to marry up with what they think the timing of the drop is going to be of the quarterback. It's got to marry up with the top three choices of running plays that they may potentially run. How are they going to scheme that out? Is it going to be gap scheme? Is it going to be zone? Is it going to be duo? They're going to have pulling guards, GT, just G. Are they going to be sifting? All these things come into play when you're putting that game plan together. It ain't just, why isn't Rashawn Gary getting to the quarterback? That's not defense in the NFL. It's just simply not.
Yep. And to Karmazov, I would assume his point. He Hafley there, you gotta put your players in a position, but to do that, he's got to be comfortable with them. And I think that he is comfortable, like he was saying, rotating the D lines or Matt. You got to be comfortable with being able to rotate those guys. You got the offensive line out there, 65 plays. If you only have 2-star DNs, all right, they're going to play 65, 60 plays and get five reps off when it's, first down on a run play or something. But being able to rotate guys, and he said, well, we're at 25 to 45 snaps per, and like that hockey line change we've been talking about, the fact that it's actually coming to, the only reason that is because you can trust them to not blow it when they're out there. You can't just put scrubs out there and say, all right, we're gonna let you play just because we need to give them a break. No, we're gonna put talent out there and stop them, with a next set of guys, not a lower tier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. Rel in the chat says he also texted McKinney, don't get bored, and gave him credit to the last 2 games opposing quarterbacks haven't thrown the ball deep. That's another thing, is like some people would look at that game and go, yeah, McKinney got the sack, but what are you doing coverage? They're not even testing him right now. They've learned their lesson, right?
That's what they were kind of asking. It's like, all right, he hasn't gotten his hand on, he hasn't caught a ball in 2 games. I know that's, it's not good, but like, what has he done to help the defense in that time? Well, 1, we haven't thrown deep. 2, he got a sack. I mean, these explosive plays don't have to be just picks. And Hafley even said I've been around Revis. He's been around Sherman, right? So when they don't throw the ball to you, that's a sign of respect, the ultimate sign of respect. And that's where he's saying you can't get bored back there, because at some point they're going to have to throw it. They're going to try to throw it deep again. They're going to try to force it your way. You got to be ready.
Definitely. No doubt about it. So one of the reasons why obviously the defense is playing at such a high level here, obviously Evan Williams, PFF Green Bay Packers had tweeted out Evan Williams, 89.4 PFF grade, the highest graded rookies so far this season. So I believe he is number 1 in the entire National Football League, the highest graded rookie player. I think that's both offense and defense in the NFL. Boy, it sounds like Goody might have gotten the steal of the draft here, Emilio. And again, I was hesitant on him. Like, he was kind of low on my board. And the main reason was the pass defense aspect. All over the tape, you've seen him playing the run and playing aggressive. They seen something in our boy Evan Williams here to really go after him, because obviously they traded up to get him. And I honestly think he probably crushed any interview process that they walked him through, because when you hear him talk at the podium, man, that dude, he just seems like he is all ball. He's upbeat. He seemed like he's really coachable. There's nothing about him that you go, listen, let's be honest. Can we be real for a minute? You hear some players talk and you go, ooh, they're not that intelligent. World-class athletes, but you could just tell they can't communicate well. They can't, some of them come from a horrible upbringing, and it's just like their physical talent and ability and them busting their ass in the weight room and conditioning is what got them to where they're at. Now they got to try to learn. Other guys, you hear them talking, you go, that dude's sharp as a tack.
Right.
Evan Williams is a dude that's sharp as a tack. And another one,
Bullard.
Xavier McKinney, sharp as
Yeah.
a tack. Javon Bullard was another one. They said, man, his football IQ is through the roof.
And that's it. It's something that's not on the stat sheet. You're not going to see it in the RAS. You're not going to see it in their hand size or their wing spread, whatever. That's the mental aspect that who was it? Drew D was saying that, it's the interviews are the one thing fans media can't get a good handle on in the draft. I think that's a good point, just because it's not anything that we can cumulative put on the board. We were talking about it this past season. Like, all right, if we find captains, let's put a star next to them, because Packers like captains. They like that leadership. But we're never going to be in those rooms where they're meeting those players. We're never going to be there, inside the meeting rooms at the Senior Bowl, things like that. That's where you can get the extra level to make the choice. All right, that guy gets it. He's gonna be here. He's got the RAS. Maybe he doesn't have it, but he's got that intellectual with him, and it's worth it to us.
Yeah, I completely agree. Cody Krupp, shout out to Cody Krupp on Twitter at Cody WKRUPP. Tweeted out this video, said Robert Saleh repping the Packers gear for day 2. Go Pack Go. How awesome, man. Matt LaFleur to have his best friend on his coaching staff with him, and what I love about Saleh, every time you see him at Packers practice, you don't see him talking at all. You notice that?
He's just taking it all in.
He's observing everything, man.
You watch him watch J Love's throw right here at the beginning. All right, drop step, nice arc, perfect. All right, let's see what else is going on at practice. It's like business. Matt probably yanked that sweatshirt out of the closet and said, all right, here, you can take this one. You can wear the pants you wore yesterday, and we're good to go.
Exactly. So I'm excited to have Hafley on the staff, man. Obviously, I think it's absolute, or not Hafley, but Hafley too, but Robert Saleh on the staff, I think is absolutely awesome to get another set of eyeballs of someone who's seen it from the head coach's perspective. I mean, you got multiple former head coaches now, multiple former defensive coordinators as well. Derek Ansley's another guy. Jeff Hafley is getting all the credit, and I think it's rightfully so. He's getting a ton of credit for what he's done to this defense. But when you look at the complete 180 that's happened with the coverage grades, with the coverage tape this year, and how well not just the DBs but the linebackers are actually covering and playing within the scheme, you've really got to look to Derek Ansley as well, who obviously is the defensive backs coach, the passing game coordinator, if I remember correctly. That dude was the DC with the Chargers last year. So he's seen it from the perspective of a defensive coordinator. Now he's back to a position coach. So he knows what Coach Hafley's going through on a weekly basis, right? So all that stuff, it really marries up well together. But again, love seeing Saleh in the house here, obviously sporting the Packer gear. So when it came to week 7, I don't think we hit on this earlier in the week, just a kind of quick refresher. I know we hit all the grades, but we didn't hit this kind of zoned in here on the highest graded players for week 7 against the Texans. Number 1, Eric Wilson, 82.7. Number 2, Romeo Dobbs at a 76.4. Number 3, Rashawn Gary at a 74.0. Zach Tom at a 72.6. And Jordan Love at a 72.2. So really, really exciting stuff there to see Eric Wilson and Rashawn Gary as 2 of the top 5 graded players. And then obviously Eric Wilson among linebackers in week 7, according to PFF, Green Bay Packers on Twitter, 82.7 PFF grade. That was 7th best among all linebackers in the league for week 7. 88.8 pass rush grade. That was 3rd best amongst all linebackers in the National Football League. 2 tackles for a loss. That was tied for 4th. 3 pressures was tied for 3rd. 2 sacks was 1st in the entire NFL. And then 1 forced incompletion was tied for 1st. This dude's playing like a legit top 5 linebacker in the league. We got to keep him on the field. Same thing goes with Edgerrin Cooper. And we're going to get to the injury report here in a minute and talk about how Quay returned to practice today. Now, we'll see if he clears concussion protocol. But, man, I'm done with the whole, well, he's a first-round pick, he's got to be out there. Like, put the best players on the field until they prove otherwise. Am I wrong there, man? I mean, I know you got draft capital tied up, but.
Yeah, that's tough. Just because I'm not sure how Matt had said it, but I thought he said that he was still in protocol, but maybe he said he just cleared protocol. But yeah, Hafley even said, Eric Wilson, he trusted him to be the one to go out there. He said he talks to him when, maybe when first team's out there on
in practice, he's talking to Eric Wilson about the play. He's relayed calls to him in before. Eric Wilson has had the dot on before. He's a veteran. He said that he can communicate well. He's vocal. He can. He knows other people's jobs. Like being a middle linebacker, you have to know your deal. You have to know your ed. You have to know your end, your tackle, your will backer. If you had a slot safety come down or a slot corner, you should probably know where they are. You need to know the coverage. He's got to be on it and be able to make adjustments as needed. And I think he did a great job. And I know that it's not a whole ton of, plays to get him to that PFF grade. I know that his numbers are down, but even in that small sample, he's performing. You can have a small sample and still be performing badly. So I think we're really lucky. And I know they asked Matt about it. Has this been, the most kind of depth that you've had at linebacker? He said, yeah, I'd probably say so, which is true. I mean, the fact that you couldn't have injuries whenever, it's same with our D-line. If you have an injury, we're not panicked and needing to go, sign a free agent or anything like that. We have it's starters in waiting. We don't have second stringers on this team. We have starters in waiting. And I think that's so true.
Yeah. Very well said. So again, Eric Wilson, just somebody to kind of keep an eye on there for sure, man. Fred McFarley says he, as in Quay Walker, is still in protocol as of today. That's the way I understood it too. It wasn't like a slam dunk he was going to play this week. The way that typically works is you look at around Friday. The key thing is, when does he leave concussion protocol, right? Typically they take it up till Friday, and then Saturday. Knowing this coaching staff, they'll probably want to use that fog of war approach and not actually show whether or not he's clear until the last possible second. That way the other team can't kind of game plan around it as much as you can game plan anyway. But here was Quay at practice today. Obviously a concussion isn't going to limit anything else. They're just waiting for him to clear that protocol. And my man looks good, looks fired up here, hitting the sled, punching the sled, and then knocking the ball out of the coach's hands there as well. Wes Hokowitz tweeted this out on Twitter and said, practicing for the Packers Thursday. Linebacker Quay Walker, center Josh Myers, guard Elton Jenkins, and defensive lineman Devontae White. Cornerback Corey Ballantyne was the only non-participant this week. Now, Devontae White, I think he had said yesterday, Emilio, correct me if I'm wrong, he said he anticipates playing. It sounds like he's good to go. If that's the case, guys, he had 10 pressures, according to Next Gen Stats. He had 10 pressures, and he hasn't played in forever. That dude would be leading the team in pressures right now. I'm almost positive he would have even more than Rashawn Gary, who leads the team right now. Get him back on the field, especially in passing situations, and look out, dude.
That's it. I mean, I think Devontae's going to tear it up. We've been trying to talk about it for the past 2 years. Like, oh, it's going to be a breakout this year for Devontae. Oh, it's going to be a breakout this year. I just hope it happens. He's got all the talent. He's got the speed to be running with the linebackers in practice. And I think that, Hafley kind of talked about when you have guys, they have to have their job down. So I think that Devontae White definitely has his job down. I think he just needs to be executing, as a whole. And I think that coming off the injury, we don't want to force him back, but let him tear it up if he's ready, and just let him eat.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go to the chat. Coach Lynn says, Evan Williams, best pick of the draft by far by any NFL team. It's hard to argue with that, man. Production, PFF grade, availability, accountability. He did it in training camp. He did it in preseason. Now he's doing it throughout the regular season. I mean, he's checked all boxes for sure. Mm-hmm. Carl K in the chat said, told my daughter, you learn more with your mouth closed than open. Amen to that. It's, the old saying, Emilio, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right? You shut up and listen just a little bit.
Sometimes the quietest man in the room's got the most brains back there. You got to wait and listen.
Or as we always said, the loudest person in the room typically got the least amount to say.
That's
so Daryl in the chat says, so piecing all the right tools for the coaching staff other than the roster itself.
I think you could look at it like, the roster is the roster, and then you have a staff of coaches that are there daily. Like, you see them every day. That's who you're conversing with, and then you're taking those conversations and teaching it to the players. I think that's really big. You have a team within a team, and they all got to be on the same page.
Yeah, definitely. Chris Ann says, is Quay trending towards playing this week? I think it's safe to say he is. I would be surprised if he doesn't play. But again, it's going to come down to that final test of concussion protocol, right? It may come back and them go, nope, you got to wait another week. It's kind of out of their hands. Carl K says if you get great guys at the top and they all work together, it tells you something about their maturity. It really does, because it's not about me, it's about us, right? It's absolutely huge. It's what breeds a strong culture in any organization, football, business, whatever. I heard a saying, something special happens when no one cares who gets the credit. That's the truth right there, man. Mm-hmm. Professor Cakes, keep Wilson on the field until/if his play dictates otherwise. His veteran presence and being assignment sure is also beneficial to Coop, allowing him to think less and play more free. I couldn't agree more, Professor Cakes.
Yeah, I think it's big. I mean, and he's still performing on special teams while he's doing all this. So, yeah, huge.
All right. So speaking of listening more and shutting up here, let's go listen to the great Brian Baldinger as he broke down a little bit of Jeff Hafley's defense. Baldy put here in the tweet, Packers' new DC, Jeff Hafley, is making a huge difference. Number one in takeaways, extremely good on third downs, and they gave CJ fits all afternoon. Next up, Jaguars. Let's see what a former NFL offensive lineman Brian Baldinger had to say about Jeff Hafley's defense here.
Are much improved on defense due to Jeff Hafley, the new defensive coordinator. Watch what they do here. Opening drive on 3rd and 4 against Houston with Rashawn Gary, number 52. Like, he's freelancing here. All he's doing is looking for an opening and getting a free hitter right here to CJ. Now he's just trying to get the ball out of his hands. Incompletion. They settled for a field goal. But all game long, they were excellent on 3rd and down. This is 3rd and 6 on the next drive. Watch what they do here. 6 up, and then here they go. They run this twist stunt here with Gary, but they bring Xavier McKinney off the edge. Safety blitz.
So pretty.
McKinney gets his first sack. All right? It's every 3rd down looked different to me. Here on 3rd and 9, they're going to come off the edge, but they're going to run a long limbo with Gary. So off the edge right here, they got a free hitter at CJ. He spins, and there's Rashawn Gary. When you watch this creativity, not only do the Packers lead the NFL in takeaways with 17, but the creativity on 3rd downs. Like, you watch this right here, and here he comes. Here comes Kingsley. Now here comes Rashawn Gary. All right? And really all CJ can do is throw the ball away. All right? Like he does right there. Now, here we go. 3rd and 6. Texans are up 19-14. They got to get a stop. Here comes a twist stunt. And here comes Eric Wilson free, and he gets to CJ Stroud. Twist stunt. All right? Getting the linebacker free. And now you get this right here. Wilson right here is going to pop from the middle linebacker spot to cover Dalton Schultz. Like, that's where the ball's going on 3rd down, and Wilson does the job. They don't ask him to do too much, but he goes from mugging the A-gap to defending that pass. So you look at this team right now, and they are excellent on 3rd downs. And they were in this game where C.J. Stroud was 4 of 13. They got off the field. They're making a difference.
4 of 13 on 3rd down. I love what he said there with Eric Wilson, too. He's mugging the A-gap. He drops back to the curl, essentially, and works the curl to the flat, right? When we say the flat, obviously they ran some kind of flood concept there where they had 3 targets on that side attacking low, mid, and up top. And he read it perfectly, breaks on Dalton Schultz. I guarantee you, then watching film this week, this was Bill Belichick 101 too. Who are they going to on 3rd downs when the game's on the line? Who are they going to? If you guys would go find Bill Belichick, A Football Life, 2-part series, you can find it on YouTube for free. They shows him breaking down tape and stuff. And I want to say, I can't remember the tight end's name, but it was a tight end for a team. That was the player that they went to on 3rd down. He said, I'm telling you, when they need a play, this is who they're going to get the play every single time. You could see that all over the tape with Dalton Schultz. You heard our boy Tim talk about it as we were getting ready that week. He's like, man, you watch out for Dalton Schultz. That's a guy they're going to try to lean on. It's not that Dalton Schultz is this amazing football player. It's just you could tell their scheme is set up that when they need a 3rd and 4, when they need a 3rd and 6, they're not looking to hit a home run. They're looking to work underneath, and Dalton Schultz is typically one of the first 2 or 3 targets. So.
Yeah.
You were specifically sending out texts here before we went live, Emilio, about the blitz. You want to hit on that real quick and tell everybody kind of what you were talking to with
honestly, you saw it there a little bit, but so he was talking about fire zones, where they were asking him, what are you calling your blitzes? And he goes, well, are they blitzes? And he goes, well, I'm not sure. You bring in 4 people. He said, well, I would call that not a blitz then. He said it's not, he's not calling it a fire zone. He likes to call it a sim pressure when we're bringing, when you see 4 and it's not those same 4 that are coming each time. Only rushing 4, but only rushing 4 looking like a blitz, but it's never going to end up like a blitz. You have 4 on the line, you bring 1 or 2 up, you walk McKinney down, you could have 7, 8 on the line, and you're only bringing 4. We're not going to consider that a blitz. What he was calling them, and then also sending 4 with 1 unconventional. I think that's like telltale of McKinney's blitz, or even Rashawn's rush on CJ right there. When we're rushing 3 and you collapse one side and you're looping around, the 1 unconventional is that Rashawn loop, or McKinney coming in on that blitz. So he'll call 5-man, he'll call a fire zone if we're bringing 5 guys. 6-man pressure is man pressures, and that's terminology. And then 0 pressures, you got to cover all 4 or 3 eligibles. You're bringing 7 or 8. So just trying to clarify terminology. When we're bringing 4 and masking it, sim pressure, 5 is a fire zone because we're probably going to drop in and out of it. 6 would be man pressures, and then 0 is 7 or 8. But just cool to hear him just kind of tear it up and talk about it.
Yeah, and when we're talking fire zone blitzes, guys, what that essentially means, let's say you're going to bring 5 on this specific play and you mug the double A gap. Well, let's say you blitz both of those linebackers. Let's say you go Will Mike fire on that and you drop the left end out. That's called a fire zone blitz. You're firing a blitz and dropping someone that's normally rushing the quarterback back into coverage, okay? Last year, there was people pissing and moaning because Preston Smith was in coverage, and we said it all offseason. You're going to see it again. I turned on the Boston College tape against Florida State. It was the very first tape I watched of Jeff Hafley and his defense. And when I turned it on, I seen them play Jordan Travis, a very mobile quarterback, and both of his D tackles dropped back into coverage spine. And I went, oh, these fans are going to lose their mind. Mm-hmm. And we've seen it a little bit this year. We showed a play 2 or 3 games ago where both defensive linemen dropped back into coverage. It might have been Philly, actually.
Right. And you know what that does is when we're mugging or when you're up like that, even if you have Quay up, he said that'll hold the running back or hold the tight end in so that they're not going to run the route. You could be masking it all the way up. You got, they could keep the tight end and the running back in, have 7 in blocking, and still we could only bring 4. That is a win. He said that's when you get a hat up in coverage. That's when you get an extra man in the secondary. All those little things happen just because you faked bringing an extra guy, forcing them to keep an extra 1 in. And that's just huge.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So what I did here on NFL Pro, we went 2024 season. All right. We just went week 7. So this is just against the Houston Texans. And I pulled the blitz plays. Understand there may be some errors here. If there is, it's on NFL Pro. They usually do pretty good about sorting this out. So a blitz is bringing more than 4 rushers. Okay. So you should see at least 5 rushers on these plays. And it looks like against the Houston Texans, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plays where we actually blitzed. And you guys going, no, that can't be right. We blitzed more than that. No, we mugged the hell out of that line of scrimmage.
Sim pressures.
Exactly. We mugged the line of scrimmage and then dropped everybody out and still only brought 4. The Xavier McKinney safety blitz, we only rushed 3 other people and Xavier McKinney. So it wasn't technically a blitz, although we had everybody and their grandmama on the line of scrimmage ready to blitz the quarterback. So let's just kind of roll through them here real quick, and I'll try to talk through it here, and we'll take a look. So right here, they're just showing kind of a 4-man pressure right off the bat. Let's see what happens as the ball snapped, if it's actually a blitz. All right, so that went really, really quick. So it was more of kind of an RPO or a quick shot out. If we were to call it a blitz, who's blitzing on that play? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's only 4 on that play, unless they considered Javon Bullard maybe potentially blitzing there.
Yeah, close.
Ball came out really, really early. All right, here's the Rashawn Gary pressure, and that's what we're talking about. Okay, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the line of scrimmage. You got overload left. That means 3 defensive linemen on the left side. We're counting Gary as a defensive lineman because that's his position. He plays left end and he moves around. Enigbare is also standing up, but he's a defensive end. You got a linebacker mugging this B gap over here. Okay, and B gap, what we mean is A in between the guard and the tackle, A between the center and the guard, B in between the guard and the tackle. This would technically be called a 4-eye technique, okay? If it was over the center, 0 tech, 2 tech over the guard, 4 tech over the tackle, inside shoulder of the 4 tech, we call that a 4-eye, okay? Let's roll it and see how this blitzed out. I already know how it blitzed out, to be honest with you. I think Wilson blitzes too, right? And he's going to jam in there and push the pocket inward. You're going to see these 2 guys collapse in, and Gary's going to loop all the way around. Kingsley Enigbare is going to play the inside shoulder of the quarterback because he knows Gary's looping around to take the outside. Watch how this just marries up beautifully here. 5-man rush. He thinks he's free now, and Gary's waiting on him. He was not expecting Gary to be there.
Roll that back one more time. It almost looked like Enigbare sat for a second. Didn't even rush. Kind of was sitting in a flat zone.
It's a good point. Yeah.
And then, all right, or maybe at least his objective was to bump your first inside receiver, if it's the tight end, whatever, bump him and then make your decision. That entire time, Rashawn's still looping.
Yeah. Remember, Hafley talked about that. He said sometimes our edge defenders, their goal is to knock people off their routes.
He engaged. He 100% engaged that guy.
Absolutely.
Right there.
That wasn't a chip. That was just Enigbare going, here, let me knock him off. It's all timing based. And again, right here, Stroud is not expecting Gary.
Nope.
By the time Stroud does this little spin move, right, he's not expecting – look where his eyes were at. They were over here, right, looking in this direction. He's expecting to roll out and have a free throwing lane. He's like, oh, crap. Here's the guy. Put it on loop. I love it.
That's right. He turned around and said, here's the guy coming after me. I need to get rid of it, man, because that's beautiful. You wasn't anything crazy. You brought one extra guy, and you – forced incomplete pass. Huge.
Yep. And for those of you on the pod, that's going to do it for hour 1. We'll see you on the other side for hour 2. We'll continue with the pass rush talk here. Appreciate y'all.
All right. Hello, hour 2. How are you? Good to see you.
Hit it right on the screws. All right. Next play. 4:39 left in the game. This is a Stroud incomplete passes again. Look at how they're mugging here, man. So you've got a defensive back over here. That's Eric Stokes, right? Am I thinking right? Yeah. So you got Stokesy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the line of scrimmage. Listen, Cooper could fire from this position too. He's not far off, like 40 yards away from the line of scrimmage. But you got that overload. You don't have an overload, do you? You just got kind of an
You got Eric Wilson mugging right there.
Yeah, you got the overload right on this play, right? You got Enigbare, LVN, and whoever the D tackle is. You got Eric Wilson mugging again, like you were saying. Rashawn Gary in the wide 9. And, of course, they're kind of showing a little cat blitz on this side. Let's roll the tape here in slow motion and see what they actually end up doing. Little cheat motion. You see Ja moving over there. All right, so they're bringing 1, 2, 3, little scrape blitz with number 56.
So we brought 6 there.
Yep, we're bringing 6 on this play, and everybody's in man coverage. You see they're locking. Look at Stokes right here getting a little piece, man. That's what I'm talking about.
And that just circles back. That circles back to exactly what Haf said. 6-man is man pressures. That's how he's going to call it. That's where you see Stokes. He was lined up on the outside guy. The guy motioned across. He goes, all right, I'm stepping in, which means that now Evan Williams, as you see Evan come down, he knows he's got to take either the running back or second nearest guy on the right side coming in.
Bingo. And you'll notice when they motion over, Stokes is over him. All right, now he passes him off. Evan Williams picks it up. That's an indicator, too. The offenses are doing that to indicate is it zone or man coverage. If that guy follows over, unless they're really, really good at sugaring that, that's going to be man coverage.
Because that must be that's already predetermined that Evan's covering that guy. They're not going to bump him, and X aren't going to bump that at the end and have him take the back and then Williams take the wide receiver there. But I love that they're already there. You know what I mean? There's no missteps in transferring and stuff like that. I like it.
Yeah, and what you'll notice here, even though the guy that motioned over, our boy Evan Williams is not caught up on covering him, because the way that's going to work, they're running in what we call a switch release. So as they release, he's just going to pick up on the guy that's going to the inside.
Right.
Oh, Ja followed him, didn't he? So is that Diggs? That's number 15. That's interesting there. So they're going to let Ja actually declare there. So I was wrong
on the outside guy.
Yep. There you go. So I was definitely wrong there. And then, of course, as they throw over, Evan Williams is there, and he's going to hit him with that strap city, right? Just a little, And it's a sword.
It is.
If you were wondering, all right? All right, next play. This is a CJ Stroud getting sacked by Eric Wilson. I love that when they fire the linebacker sometimes, they wait until everyone's in place before they mug. Now they're walking
because
up.
They already called protection.
Yep. Then there's not enough time on the clock to change everything up. So now you declare 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the line of scrimmage. Now you see Xavier belling out here, and it is going to be a 6-man pressure, right? Which means probably man coverage. Am I right? Yep. See him coming across right here, man coverage. So you're right on that 6-man pressure. It's good stuff, man. Again, we just want to kind of stay up to date every week on, all right, what is Hafley doing to create pressure? How are they approaching this?
And Hafley was saying in his interview there that I forgot the guy's name. Dude sitting next to him that had called plays with him at Ohio State and things like that. He said he saw something in their offense not being able to cover for Hafley to then call that play on the next third down, giving us, it was a 7-yard sack or something. He wasn't specific to the play, but he said, if we did X, Y, and Z, then we would put ourselves in X, Y, and Z position. And we ended up with a 7-yard sack. It's not just Hafley that's putting all that information out there. He's got a whole team. That's why they're there. He can't see everything, but beautiful that they're working together and performing like that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, next play, CJ Stroud pass short right to Hutchinson for to Green Bay's 12 for 11 yards, but still this is going to be a blitz play. You're showing a little bit of overload left on this play, right? You're mugging up here, it looks like, and you got Gary out there in that wide 9. So on that play, they actually fired a backer on a little delay, what we call a dog blitz. So a little delay there. They brought a bunch that time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To me, this was the only negative play I've seen Rashawn Gary have all day long. On this play here, Emilio, he is going to make the crucial mistake of going to the inside shoulder of CJ Stroud rather than biting outside. Imagine if he goes outside shoulder here, it's over, right? Because he's got help. If he goes outside shoulder and CJ Stroud tries to scramble left, he's got help over here. Right? You've also got someone helping right here up the middle as well with Kenny. But again, ends up getting over and completing the pass, and they did convert that on Jair, which it was, not much more you can ask of Jair on this play. You see the coverage. That's pretty darn tight right there, right? That's good coverage. So, but again, right there, you brought a boatload of rushers as well. Let's see next play, and then we'll wrap this up and move on to another topic here. I just wanted to run through them real quick. Here's the incomplete pass short right to Tank Dell. Once again, showing the overload, but you're mugging, right? Look at that.
5 on, and then you got your DB over there.
Yep. Let's roll the tape, see how many they bring. So, couple guys dropping out. You're bringing 5, little stunt, little game in the middle. Ball out, incomplete. Great coverage there by Stokes, right? Incomplete. So, all right, there you go. Like I said, just wanted to hit some of those, kind of give you guys an idea of, all right, here's what Hafley's doing. Go ahead, Emilio.
And it's not, that they said blitz, right? It could be 5, it could be 6. There's some of them might only be 4. They're not going to get it perfectly every time, but they're taking it as a blitz, and that's why everyone's asking him, what are you doing with those blitzes? He goes, we're only bringing 4. You know what I mean? We're not blitzing. That's why he was just trying to, square that away. So it's cool seeing it, running it back, but he's doing a great job.
Yeah, definitely. Respect Oranges in the chat said, hopefully top 5 defense. I'm going to do something this year. When we go on the bye, we're going to have plenty of time to talk about stuff. When we get on the bye week, I'm going to break down my own defense power rankings throughout the entire National Football League. And what I'm going to do with that is take what I think are the most important statistics from a team standpoint, compile them together, and come up with a ranking system. You got some people, they love DVOA. You got other people that are only focused on yards. You got other folks that are more focused on points. I personally would lean on points more than anything, but I kind of come from a little bit of a gambling approach too. Points per play is absolutely huge statistic in the gambling world. So what we'll do is we'll kind of break it down. I'll maybe pick 3, maybe 4 top statistics and average it all out throughout the entire NFL and see who I think are the top defenses in the league for sure. Holmes MD1 in the chat says Prince defensive speed is serious, no doubt about it, man. These guys are humming. Let's see here. Prince in the chat says Tim is not here. I blame Emilio. Somebody's got to take the blame, Emilio. They do, man. Holmes MD1 says the phrase of the week, Peter. And he put laughing emoji. Yeah. So some of you old heads know what that means. Emilio, do you know what it means?
Yeah, I would say so. Kind of the opposite of Richard.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Yeah.
You nailed it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And listen, times have changed, but back when I was growing up, that was actually there's an NFL Films footage of special teams coaches talking about it, and Jim Schwartz talks about it on it. He's like,
Really?
"Yeah, it's what we've always called it. Stay away from that. Don't touch
hey.
it. Don't touch it." Right?
No touchy.
Yeah. No touchy. Holmes MD1 says, "Hey guys, explain the difference between a bump and a chip for the audience." So what I imagine what you're talking about is when I hear the word
defensive perspective, right?
Yeah, when I hear bump on defense, I'm thinking DB jamming the receiver at the line of scrimmage, right?
Mm-hmm.
A chip is when you've got a tight end or a running back who, before they go out in their route, they're going to hit a defensive rusher first and then get out in their route. So essentially, that defender, Rashawn Gary's being chipped like third, fourth most in the league now.
Right.
It's probably going down now, too, since Hafley started to move Gary around, which is awesome. That's why you've seen Gary with 7 pressures in that game alone. But the design is, before I get out my route, let me knock off his momentum where he's got to kind of restart. And then so he's got to beat me. Then he's got to beat the tackle. Then he's going down the quarterback.
Right. Rashawn's getting chipped a lot. Eningbare bumped that tight end or that wide receiver on that route there. You know, that he's trying to mess up. So, like, when Rashawn's getting chipped, the offense doesn't care about the timing for the tight end. When Eningbare's bumping the tight end, he's affecting the timing of the offense.
2 can play at that game, basically.
Right.
Daryl in the chat said Hafley's system works. He wants them to get to the quarterback, and it doesn't matter who gets to the quarterback. A lot of it is, listen, don't let the quarterback get out of the pocket. Don't let him find those throwing lanes as easily. We're okay with him sitting in the pocket.
Right.
We're going to compress that thing, and we're going to make him really, really uncomfortable with the throwing lanes. That's the big thing. Let's see here. Antonio Universe says Hafley's football smarts plus Goody's talented roster on D equals a mean D. Amen to that. Mm-hmm. And then Coach Lynn, what's Oladapo role moving forward? That's a great question, Coach. I think that injury set him so far back. I think it's special teams, you know, and hopefully we don't have to see him on the field. If we see him on the field, that means either Evan Williams or Javon Bullard or, God forbid, Xavier McKinney is banged up or out with an injury, right? But I think I see Oladapo as his role for the rest of the season is become that star on special teams, right? Become that star player on special teams. Kind of how I see that.
I think that's right now the best spot that we can hope for him. You know how Matt talks about Zane Anderson and being there and being efficient and effective. I think that's where, you know, Oladapo's got to go to make a name for himself. Just because right now that the rest of the rookies are already doing it, you know, and he hasn't gotten that opportunity, and knock on wood, you know, he's probably not going to get unless it's an injury or something along those lines that forces him to step up.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, what else we got here real quick? Let's switch gears and jump over to the offensive side of the ball. You want to?
Let's do it.
Let's do that since this has been a defense-heavy show, no doubt about it. So Jordan Love, let's talk a little Jordan Love. PFF NFL podcast tweeted out, Jordan Love since week 4, 1,092 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 5 big-time throws. And it was Trevor Sikkema over at the PFF NFL podcast, their NFL show, actually said, quote, I think we're in a position where Jordan Love could explode from this point on. That's what it feels like to me, Emilio. I don't know if you agree or not, but to me, Jordan Love seems like we're right where we were last year, going into the second half of the season, where this dude is just ready to pop. Now, listen, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, obviously. When you talk about his accuracy being 61%, you see him struggle at times with that. To dig a little deeper and understand where his accuracy is struggling, this was a really cool table that came out from @football_insights on X. And basically with the table you got here, running vertically is vertical, charted catchable throw rate, okay? So running vertically along the left, you've got vertical, and then along the right, I believe, is the horizontal throws, right? So essentially what it's showing you is the NFL kind of average is throwing the ball on horizontal breaking routes should be somewhere around 80% catchable. And then the ones going vertically should be a little over 50% catchable. That makes sense. So this kind of shows where each quarterback, their accuracy is maybe succeeding or failing. Okay. And let's key in on Jordan Love. What this shows is when he throws the ball vertically, his catchable rate is over 60%, which puts him in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, definitely the top 10 in the entire league in catchable throw rate on vertical throws, vertical routes. Okay. Horizontally is where he's struggling. He's below that 80% mark, probably sitting somewhere at about 75%. And that literally puts him in the bottom 1, 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks in the league when you're talking about horizontal accuracy. Okay. So why do I show that? Because when you look at Jordan Love's completion percentage and you go, okay, where has he struggled with his accuracy? Vertical, he's on point this year. And, the reality is Aaron Rodgers, the last couple of years in Green Bay, I felt like that's where he was missing. But those horizontal throws, he was nailing pretty well. Seems to be the opposite with Jordan. He's struggling a little bit with those horizontal throws or horizontal routes and that catchable rate. But, boy, when it comes to going vert, Emilio, my man's on point with those vertical throws. I'm okay with this because that means explosive plays are gonna be aplenty.
Mm-hmm. Dropping dimes in a bucket over there. But PFF does it. I'm not sure if it's at the end of the year or whatnot, but they sometimes have a quarterback graph chart where they'll go and do the target mapping and heat map and the index and how far he's throwing down the field and things like that. So I'll have to see if they have that guide up from last year when he was doing it. But even coming up this year, it's going to be cool to see because they have, you have, all right, am I, a yard out in front of him? Am I above his head? Am I below his knees? Where is the ball landing? And like you said, I think that one, it's working on the horizontal accuracy. Two, protecting your player to not put him in a hospital pass. We don't want to put them in hospital balls. We don't want them to lose their knees. We don't want them to get their bell rung, all of that. So that's where you're throwing inside of his shoulder, back off his hip to turn him, or, you can turn his momentum and stop his momentum just by where you're placing the ball. So that's, I think, something he's probably honing in. Obviously it's probably not perfect, but I think that he's working to that. And if we can, thin him down, if the horizontal, gets better slowly, that's totally fine. But yeah, he can hit those deep balls and he's not afraid to throw the deep ball. So that's 2 for 2.
Yeah. United Bates in the chat said, it does seem he often throws behind receivers going across, at least to me. Remember the interception on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Crossing route, he missed them high, right? That's what we're talking about. That was a dig, I believe is what it was, right? A dig
and
route.
Seno was talking about trying to get it to Christian because he's only got 14 targets or something all year. So we're trying to get it to Christian, but then we actually only had, 5 offensive possessions that were actually possessions. We had 4 or 5 3-and-outs, and then 2 picks and punts. So I mean, there was only a couple of opportunities to really get going, and at least we made do with the 4 or 5 drives that we did have to get us to 22 points or whatever it was, 24 points. So that's what is important there. But yeah, no, I know what you're saying. We got to get, looking downfield, but that horizontal cross hitting Christian there is tough.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I think that chart really shows what Bates is saying here. And it's what I'm seeing as well as those crossing routes, those digs. That's where he's missing his spot. You guys remember the other interception where Luke Musgrave tipped the pass in the air and it got picked off, right? What was that? Technically, he was throwing to Dobbs, which was kind of like it's supposed to be a post, but he got rerouted and almost turned into like a reverse pro route, right? And again, I would consider that kind of an in-breaking route as opposed to just straight going vert. So that's definitely something that they're struggling with for sure. Let's see here. Holmes in the chat said, I think flat accuracy is impacted by play calling. Also think they go to it too early in the game. Pound the rock first, let the man settle in. I agree with that, Emilio. I really do. I mean, we've talked about it. The problem I had with the play call in this last game, and I know people get upset when you disagree with the play calling, but you had a 3rd and short play, if I remember correctly. Josh Jacobs is averaging over 6 yards a carry, and you decide to run a jet sweep or reverse, whatever you want to call it, an end around. You're having to run 12 yards horizontally to gain 1 yard. Mm-hmm. That you need to move the sticks. Like that's why I was saying in the chat, like, why are we getting cute here? What are we doing? Because it'd be different if Josh Jacobs was struggling to run football, right? And I know those are big hitters, and you go big or go home. I got all that, but at the same time, man, like we kept saying, and I think it goes both ways. Here's what I'm trying to say. We say Jordan Love needs to understand what kind of game he's playing in, right? Like Houston, that game is going to be a tight, close game. There's no reason to take those chances. Just play the game that the hand you're dealt. Same thing goes for LaFleur. Like you're seeing the same thing. Your quarterback's kind of struggling a bit. Hey, let's just move the sticks. And I think that's what Holmes is saying right here, right? Let's pound the freaking rock, take some of that pressure off of him. I mean, you cannot have a running back. I don't care what anyone says. You're not going to convince me that it was not a bad job, a bad play calling job when you run the ball 12 times with a running back who's averaging over 6 yards a pop. That's just, you've got to know that in real time that we got to stick with that hot hand. I'm not saying run them 25 times. I'm simply, and other people's argument was, well, we did run the ball. We just gave it to Emmanuel Wilson. He didn't get yards. Well, that's on the coaches. Like, you've got to stay with the hot hand there. And there was plenty of opportunities to get him the ball in that case there where you just decided to run the end around. Again, we're splitting hairs. It was an awesome win. You guys know on a victory Monday, on a victory week, I'm not going to be the negative guy. But when I hear people get upset that people are going, yeah, we're getting too cute there, like, we were getting too cute. Am I wrong there? Do you disagree, or did you kind of see it the same way? Because you seen the chat. I went nuts. I was just like, this is driving me crazy.
You were not happy. No.
They're trying to give us this game, and we won't take it. You know what I mean?
No, and I think you're right. It's got to be a coach telling Matt. Obviously, Matt can't see everything or feel everything during the game. Right. A coach needs to be like, hey, Matt, Josh is over 5 yards of carry, man. If we need something, let's use them. Even if we get up to 15, we didn't even break, 20 carries with him. Josh said his body appreciates it, right? He's not as sore. He said he's feeling great, which is perfect. Maybe that's what Matt's looking for. But if that's the case, all right, Beck, come in here and just do a 21 dive. If we need 1 yard, let's try it that way. I know we don't, we got the tuck push, right? Whatever we ended up, I forgot what we ended up naming it, but we have that option. But why are you trying to force, sideways? You only got 53 yards sideways. You got 100 vertical. Let's work with the yardage that we're given. But let's not force those end arounds, man. It's if the defense is sitting on it, it's over. And maybe you set it up all year, and then there's a dive underneath it, right? You get the entire defense coming across, and you set up a dive underneath. But for there, I don't love that play. And you get Josh Jacobs cooking, then Jordan Love can turn his back to the defense, and we can really sell some play action. And I don't think he minds throwing on the run, rolling out anything like that. And I think that'll help the offense moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. Prince in the chat says, felt cute, might change game plan later. Tupac LaFleur. There you go.
Edit
Tim was here.
How about that?
We would have the screen grab up right now of Tupac LaFleur if Tim was here. I promise you that.
Oh, yeah, that's on me.
Keith in the chat. Great show as usual, guys. Hey, thanks, Keith. Appreciate you hanging out with us, buddy. You are the man. Eric Sutherland, on offense, I'm most impressed how far Sean Ryan has come. He's playing well. Man, I'm blown away. Oh, there it is, right there, right on top. I'm blown away by Sean Ryan. I really am. And it's not just one game here, one game there. The consistency is starting to pile up. And listen, the reality is Jordan Morgan is not playing up to that standard. Like, you could tell that they started that game, and we heard our boy Brian Balaga and Mark Tauser talking about this. When you looked at the snap count, they were going to do that rotation. But they noticed Jordan Morgan, I think it was the second possession of the game, Jordan Morgan getting his ass handed to him, and they went right back to Ryan, and then they kind of stuck with Ryan, if I remember correctly. Let's look at the offensive snaps here. So, yeah, Sean Ryan had 45 snaps. Jordan Morgan only had 13. So you've seen him really separate himself there. It seems like they're going to lean on Sean Ryan. And listen, that doesn't mean Jordan Morgan's not going to be a great football player. He's a rookie, right? But right now, Sean Ryan is really, really up in his game, and I'm excited to see what he does. Because, again, that's a guy who got criticized for being out of shape and whatnot. And Matt LaFleur praised him because, like, one thing about Sean Ryan, man, when you tell him to correct something, he corrects it. Mm-hmm. And it's awesome to see because you can tell the team loves him too. There's a really cool shot of Rashawn Gary screaming in his face, like getting him amped up. And you see Sean Ryan on the field too. He is one of those dudes that you can tell he's going to go to battle with his guys, man.
Yeah.
So you can tell he's a team player.
And you saw who's going to go in at left guard if Ellen has to move. He is our versatile. He's our swing guard center. I would think, but if Elton's in, we're going to put him at center. I like that he has that ability, and like you said, he's working hard. He doesn't, if somebody says something, he's going to fix it. He's going to adjust it. And Steno said that in his interview. He was saying, yeah, Ryan's been playing good. He's been playing well. We got to keep him out there so that the snaps for Morgan is going to kind of be fluid and as it comes. But if Ryan's got the matchup, let him keep going. He hasn't proven that he's, a liability at guard, at least to like a major extent.
Yeah. Drew D in the chat said maybe Jordan Morgan needs to be an offensive tackle. There's a hell of an idea, Drew. I mean, he was an offensive tackle his entire life, and we decided to move him to guard. And listen, this is something that the Packers are notorious for. We've seen it over the years, and sometimes it works. In my opinion, most of the time it doesn't. Like you see them try to do that with Demarius Randall, right? And they tried to move him around. And listen, Demarius Randall ended up not being very good at the football, right? But yeah, I think that they're kind of that team that tries to do a little bit of that, right? And I think Jordan Morgan he could end up being the best swing tackle in the league, right? Maybe you take a step back. You got him for guard if you need him, but why not start working him into the tackle rotation a little bit in practice? That way you've got him kind of a little bit more prepared in that regard. So
would you want him to be like that this year? Would you, or I guess, would you expect Jordan to be able to be a swing guard and a swing tackle this year?
That's a lot for a rookie.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. And the reason they wanted to do the rotation with Sean Ryan, and this is Coach Steno talking, not me, was you see the talent. It's like, we got to figure out a way to get him on the football field. And then you get him out there, though, and he's not maximizing his opportunities. So, okay, you got a little taste there. Now let's take a step back, let him learn from it, let him watch from the bench a little bit, let Sean Ryan do his thing and go with the hot hand.
But how good is that for him? You know what I mean? Like him actually being able to get some reps, but right here, like Coach Glenn was saying, Packers had the luxury of slow playing Morgan. Half the league wish they could do the same. That's the truth. How nice is it that you can give him, all right, you get 15 plays this game, go out, go 100%. We'll go through your mistakes. We'll praise you for what you did well, and we're gonna have to hammer what you did bad. We saw it in the game. He can move guys in the run game. I mean, that's true. He can move guys around. He can turn them. Obviously, it's not going to win every rep, but those little things he's got. All right, now I got 5 games of tape that I can sit down, watch, and grind and figure out where my feet were good, where my feet need to get better. Go back and watch Ryan and in those plays when he wasn't in. All right, what's he doing? What do I need to do to be able to beat him to get in there? It's not like he doesn't want to play. It's not like he doesn't want to be an NFL player, starting player. So what are those things that he needs to do to approach to get better to beat Ryan at his spot?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's a great point, Coach Lynn, having the luxury of slow playing him. And it's funny, too, because the big argument early in the year was they don't have a swing tackle. They don't have a backup offensive line. If they have one injury, they're screwed. And then here we are in week 7 talking about how they have the luxury of slow playing their first-round pick. It's just absolutely awesome, man. Let's see here. Holmes in the chat said, Clayton, I seem to see some good duo blocks in the run game. Do you agree? Yeah, they're not as often, obviously, as zone run plays. And listen, zone and duo, it's really, really muddy water there trying to determine which is which. My golden rule, which was explained to me by coaches that I trust, was you'll recognize a duo by seeing 2 double-team blocks where both of those double-team blocks span off to a vertical displacement, one of those double-team blockers getting to the second level. It's basically power from a vertical standpoint. So essentially with a power play, you have like a guard pulling, right? And he's going to move over 1 or 2 gaps and then occupy a different gap. Well, with duo, you're getting to that second level, but you're not skipping a gap. Everybody's staying on the same side as they were with the teammates around them. So like if you're a guard in between a tackle and a center, you're never going to skip a lane. You're never going to skip a gap to where you end up on the outside shoulder of the guard or the tackle or on the inside shoulder of the center. but you are getting to the second level. So the two aspects it was explained to me, vertical power, and there needs to be at least two double teams. If you only have one yeah, exactly. If you only have one double team and he gets to the next level, they still consider that zone. And this is, again, coaches probably hear this and think, who the hell cares, right? We know what our blocking scheme is here. Double there. I don't care. You can call it duo. You can call it giraffe. I don't care. Whatever you want to call it. But that's the way it's been explained to me. But yeah, I have seen some. I like duo. I think duo is fun. I think duo is an opportunity for an offensive line, especially if you're a pass-happy offense who's just been getting punched in the face with the pass rush, to go, all right, guys, here's a duo. Let's go out there and kick their ass on this run. And you can fire off the ball, double to the second level, catch that backer not looking like Ben Sims did, right? That could have been considered a duo if there was another double team on the line, even though as a tight end, he rushes up, helps the tackle with the end, and then got to the second level and just absolutely annihilated the linebacker. You ask any offensive lineman, would you rather pass block or run block? Oh, they're going run block all day.
Downhill.
That pass block is rope-a-dope. Pass block is you're dodging those shots, you're taking it on the chin, right? And run blocking is, hey, let's come out and fire some haymakers here. So
Keith, whoever's across from you, instead of backpedaling and catching, they like to initiate the contact too.
Definitely. Prince in the chat says, I have a feeling we won't see Lloyd until after the bye. No reason to rush him back with 3 healthy running backs. Could not agree more, Prince. I think that the little bit we've seen of Marshawn Lloyd and hearing how Matt LaFleur bragged on him, he called him that little rocket out of the backfield. Yeah, why not utilize the bye, right? There's no reason to rush him back now. Got all the faith in the world in Emmanuel Wilson. I think that the other guy too, Chris, what's his last name? I always forget. Chris Brooks. Chris Brooks is, I'm telling you, I hope we don't get to the point where you have to see him get a significant amount of carries, but if you do, you're going to be really impressed because you can watch every stop he's ever made in the league. He was in Miami. He was somewhere else this year too. Was it Washington maybe? Whoever it was with, if you go watch his preseason tape, that dude's averaging like over 6 yards a carry.
Right.
Like he is very
He's
physical.
our James Starks.
Bingo. And you only did that because he's from Buffalo, right? There you go. So Matt LaFleur also talked about his pass pro is real solid, and he's a good special teams player as well. So you got a lot of value there with him.
I think that's his team. I mean, we have a lot of versatile players. We don't have a lot of – there's not two-way players anymore, offense, defense. We have a lot of two-way offense, special teams guys. And I think that's – we took what was it, 2 years ago probably we were talking about, let's not use starters on special teams. Let's not do this. Let's not do that. We don't want them to get hurt. And Jaws out there trying to dive to block a kick. We got Jaden Reed out there trying to catch punts. You got to put your best players out there. They're playing a game where there's a possibility of them getting hurt, but you can't play scared. That's when you get even more hurt. That's when you get really badly hurt. So
exactly. Yeah. You ask anybody who's played the game of football, that's what they say. If you go out there trying not to get hurt, you're going to get hurt. It's going to happen, man. It's going to happen. But I agree with you, Prince, on Lloyd. Let's see. Deadfish giving us an update. Vikings 14, Rams 14. It's a different Rams team when you got Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, man.
That's what some of the chat was saying. They were saying that different team with Puka out there and being able to move that ball around there. It's a different team when you have two wide receivers that can catch and that can run routes like that.
Yeah, and I'm really proud. Like, I'm not a I told you so person. I hate it, man. There's nothing I despise more than hearing somebody say, I told you so. I just want to slap them in the mouth when I hear them say that. It's like people repellent. But when we were going through that draft process, when Puka Nacua came out in the draft, that was a guy that kept popping up on my board. And I'm like, why is he so low on the consensus big board? And all the data I have suggests this dude's going to be a stud. I think we'll never hear him again. And then lo and behold, rookie year, it's like, whoa, this dude can play. I'm like, hark, we were on to something, right? I'm excited about the draft season too, man. If you guys are new here, feel free to hit the like button, sub to the channel, all that good stuff. But we do shows. We try to do them every day of the year is the goal, 365 days a year. In some cases, we'll do multiple shows a day. We got Good Morning Lambo. As we get deeper into November, we'll have morning shows and evening shows. We do post-game shows, pre-game shows. And when we get into the off-season, man, it didn't miss a beat, did it? As soon as the season was over, all right, guys, here's the top free agents coming up. Here's the coaching changes that are happening. Is Jeff Hafley going to get poached? All these things, right? Who are you signing off your practice squad to futures contracts? And then it's immediately into free agency. It's immediately into draft prep. Next thing you know, it's training camp, man. It's 365 days a year.
And what's crazy is summer went so fast, and this season now is starting to go fast. Like the weeks are starting to fly by. By the time we get to, we haven't even gotten to the bye yet, but it feels like we're already halfway through the season. We're cruising up on it. We played one divisional game, but it seems like everything's happening so fast. By the time we get to the draft, it's like we were worrying about all these people that are going to be on the team. We had to make cut downs from 91. What are we going to do? We were talking about Kalen King. And when was the last time we talked about him? It's not you're not going to get everybody. My man, Glover, I want to see him out there, but it's just not going to happen right now. Let the talent out there that's winning and playing these games together, let them just keep going.
And since we're kind of talking O-line, I was thinking about this earlier today. What I think the long-term plan is there, and when I say long-term, I mean this offseason, I think that they'll probably let Josh Myers test the market. And if you can get Josh Myers back on a deal, $3-4 million a year, they may say, you know what, he provides enough stability that we want him back. I disagree with that, but I can see where the coaches would view it that way, right? Now, his athleticism is going to warrant a pretty damn good paycheck in free agency. I believe that with everything in me. There's going to be other teams that had a high draft grade on him. They're going to see his athleticism, his size as a center, and they're going to go, let's go pay that dude. And the Packers may just let him walk. If that happens, let's just assume Josh Myers isn't back next year. If that's the case, kick Elton Jenkins over to center, put Sean Ryan at left guard, have Jordan Morgan play right guard, right? And you've got Rasheed Walker at left tackle, Zach Tom, you need to extend him, have him at right tackle. And guess what happens, Emilio? Travis Glover, those guys, they step up now and start to work their way into that swing tackle role, and it's next man up, right? Yeah. And that you've seen it with Sean Ryan. Like, he didn't play a single snap, to the best of my knowledge, his rookie year, right? And now all of a sudden we're talking about, hey, look, here's a guy who's actually stepping up and playing good this year. Some people just need to incubate, right?
Right. I'm not saying Glover's going to be a all-pro at tackle. I'm just saying I just want to see the kid get a chance. You know what I mean? Like, Eric Wilson finally got his chance at backer. Edrin Cooper's getting his chance at linebacker. We haven't even seen Hopper. I'd love to see our third-round pick out there. But he's making plays on special teams. He is physical. He's a thumper, but we haven't seen him out on the field. Why is that? Is it, talent? I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a lack of talent. Maybe he doesn't, get the defense, or maybe it just falls back to Hafley trusting him. We have trust in our D-line, their experience. They've been there. He has trust in Eric Wilson. That's why he put him out there after Quay got hurt. So maybe it's as simple as that. And he just needs to learn more and get another year under his belt. That happens.
Yeah. Definitely. And again, the Minnesota Vikings and the LA Rams are still tied at 14. They got the Rams backed up. It's going to be a 3rd and long, and probably have to punt here in just a second. There's 5 minutes and 30 seconds left in the second quarter. So we're approaching the middle 8 here. Going to be huge to see if the Rams can it's like they're just trying to get a little bit of yardage back, and they do. So need to pin them deep here and protect the middle 8. We're Rams fans tonight, baby. I was telling Amelia offline, it'd be awesome if the Rams could somehow win this game. Minnesota drops to 5-2. Let's say we win next week and they lose again. All of a sudden they look up and go, how did the Packers pass us in the standings? Right?
Could you imagine? That would be wild.
I think it will be an uphill battle for the Rams tonight, though. Minnesota's they're a wagon right now, man. They're playing good football. No doubt about it.
I think that, but like Chad was saying, Darnold's getting a little rattled. I think that's where you need to get him to be able to kind of take over the Vikings. You got to get him off his spot.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like there's some people in here, like Holmes says, I've warmed to Myers. He's playing better. Monk is good at center, I think, as well. And then I think that's what Reef is saying here, too. That looked good that game, Clayton, when Myers went down.
When Ellen took over at center.
Right,
and Myers was out.
Okay,
and Ryan hopped over.
Listen, in a perfect world, Myers is a top 5 center. Re-sign him. I have nothing personal against Josh Myers, but, I mean, the problem is he's not lived up to the second-round talent, and I think other teams are going to create a bidding war on him because of his athleticism, and I'm not willing to pay him $8, $9, $10 million a year and continue to grade out as not even a starting caliber center, And again, that last game, he played really well. Let's see if he continues it, right? For his sake, You know, like these guys, you root for them, and yeah, you want them to be Green Bay Packers. And if they're not on the Packers, I don't care what they do, type thing. But also, they're human beings. Josh Myers had a rough year, just lost his dad. Like he lost his dad right at the same time I lost my brother. Yep. And it was just like, I'm thinking of like the stuff I'm going through on a daily basis with that at the time. And this dude's having to go out there and try to perform in front of 70, 80,000 fans.
Just in the stands, let alone people watching from home.
Bingo. And it's a violent sport. And I was just like, man, come on, Josh, you can do this, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not rooting against him, but at the end of the day, we try to look at everything on this channel like Goody would look at it from a front office standpoint. And you have to remove the emotion. And when you remove the emotion, you can't convince yourself that Josh Myers is a top 5 or a top 10 center. You just
right. Well, John Runyon just got paid $30 million. You know,
bingo. And there's that. And who did he go to? Who was it again?
The Giants.
The Giants. How are they doing? Can someone explain to me how they're doing? Like, that is a horrible organization, man. I'm hoping that Bill Belichick gets that job next year because he's got those ties. I talked about that last night, and I know it's not a Belichick podcast, but I would love to see Bill Belichick go back to a place that he loves so much and just turn that organization around and ride off into the sunset, even if it's not even winning another Super Bowl, but just take them and turn them into a winning program, get them to the playoffs, and then retire and do his thing. But, yeah.
Prince here said Myers is one of the interesting stories so far. That they say they really like him, but have not extended him. I think that just adds to where we're at right now. I mean, he's just got to play and perform, and it's kind of like Mike Williams and the Jet. He's out there catching passes from Rodgers still, but they're still looking to move him, or for he's making those plays for other teams. It's not just for that. I don't think Myers is to that point though. I like that Myers he's still a Packer. He's still he's not playing for his next contract elsewhere. He's playing for the team. And I think that's how they're looking at it. Matt has them looking, one play at a time, one moment at a time, rather than, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year at a time. I think that's how they have to look at it in a long season and also like a short window at the same time. It's not, you're only playing 17 games, but it's a grind to get there.
This Jared Verse kid, dude, he's a stud. My man just fought through a double team block, was being held, still sacked Darnold. Trying to remember, was it this year he came out in the draft? It was. What? Yeah. Yep. He was my 3rd ranked edge defender. And keep in mind, Latu, who I think went to the Colts, he was my top one, but he was in the red because of the injury history. So if you removed him from the board there as a first-round pick, him being Latu, then Jared Verse was my second best edge rusher. Any idea what Chop Robinson's doing? Any idea at all? No. I haven't heard his name once.
Is he on the Steelers, I want to say? Maybe not.
He's still in the league.
But that's it. That's it. That's the crazy thing is that we talked about all these guys. We were learning about them. We learned about Jordan Morgan barely came up, in our discussion. It's just something, we can cover the top 100 and it still might not be the pick.
With Jordan Morgan, I had him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th best tackle. And he was like in a group of like 3 tackles that were available at the time we picked.
Yep.
He was the lowest ranked one, but he was in that range. And the big thing about Jordan Morgan, if I remember correctly, didn't they do a visit? I think they did a visit with him.
A visit. It was a 30 visit, and it wasn't Senior Bowl, was it?
Senior Bowl.
Senior Bowl. Okay. Yep.
Yes, spot. Yeah,
and that's where you get that little extra. I have mine next to me. It's on the wall next to me.
This is my draft board. So every year when we do our draft covers, when we get to draft night, this thing's out of focus now. Wow. It's going to be out of focus the rest of the night. When we get to draft night, I print that off in a laminated copy, and like Emilio was here live for the draft, so we could kind of follow.
What are we going to do this next year? We're going to have to run to UPS store, huh?
Oh, I'll have it printed before I fly out of Tennessee and head to Green Bay. I promise you that. Looking at this camera right now, this is usually what I see when I've been drinking a little bit. But tonight, I'm sober tonight.
Fuzzy, yeah. I blame it on Tim, but it's a little fuzzy.
It is Tim's fault. You're right. I'm glad you said that. Watch this. Let's see if we kill the camera and it fixes. We're almost done anyway.
Damn.
Nah, nothing. All right. That's it. This show sucks. You guys know that.
We try.
Anything else you want to hit on, Amelia? We covered a lot, bro. This was fun.
Yeah. Up top over here, up on the top right there, you got Patreon. I appreciate all the members over there.
hop in there once in a while. I need to get the notifications fixed up so that actually when chats get going, we can get in it. But great community over there. Appreciate the chat being here. Got Jags this week. It's going to be big. I know we're gonna work it. Coming up to the game, we'll go through them a little bit more, break down the numbers, things like that. But if you really want to hear what this team's about, go on YouTube and listen to Matt and listen to all those things yourself. Give us your take. I mean, you comment in the video below, whatever. I just want to hear what you guys think about where this team's heading. I think they're going to start cooking. I mean, they are, but I really think that it's growing into something special that you just can't put a value or a word on, where they are at right now.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. I like this right here. Reef says Coach Lynn needs to be mocked up every game. I would love to do a watch party, but you guys have heard me talk about it. I think it would be a blast to get in here and actually do a live broadcast while watching the game. There'll be a lot of dead air, obviously, but it would be cool to hang out with the chat and this and that. But man, it's just pre-game show, watch party, post-game show. It's like a 6-hour day, man. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I'm just not that much of a people person, but I'm with you, man. Throw Coach Lynn in here on a watch party and just let him talk X's and O's as the game goes along. I'll be all about it, man. No doubt about it. So, all right. Let's see what else. Wrap it up here real quick. Coming down the stretch, Deadfish Chop Robinson went to the Miami Dolphins at number 21. Harry Cheese says, go watch White Chicks. I need to go watch it. And I seen the screen. I seen the picture of the guy that Jordan Love was supposed to be. Bro, he crushed it.
That's what I'm saying. You're missing out, dude. Yeah. You are absolutely missing out. You got, right there. Making my way downtown, Terry Crews singing.
Is that what that's from?
Yeah, well, he sings in the car, and then he goes on a date with one of the white chicks. You're missing out.
We need that. The stove is lit, Emilio.
I'd say. I mean, we were talking about being a kiln and being able to shape all this talent and everything like that. I think we're past that, man. We got Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen right now. It just depends on if he's cooking his risotto or whatever he's about to whip up. But I mean, it's coming.
Yeah. Eric Sutherland says, this show sucks, but I continue to give it time. I'll never get back.
That's so true. I appreciate you giving us the time that you're never going to get back, Eric.
Acting like you've actually got a life, Eric. Come on, bro. Come on. All right, we're out, guys. We appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. We'll be back. Tomorrow night, we will not be back. We got Friday Night Lights, so nice. I'm going to be going to the nephew's ball game. If I get home in time, I may do a late afternoon show before we leave, or early afternoon show, rather, before we leave. But nonetheless, we'll be back Saturday, and we'll probably do 2 shows on Saturday, morning show, evening show, and then, of course, we'll be back for the pregame show and the postgame show. So, Emilio, thank you for your time, bud. This was fun.
Of course. Happy to be here, always.
All right, man. We'll catch y'all tomorrow. Tim ain't here to help us.
Wrong one.
For those of you listening on the pod,
thank you for making us part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world.
I don't listen too much Taylor Swift.
I don't either, Jordan. Go Pack, go.
do it.